Hey guys, welcome back to the Lou Perez podcast on the Lions of Liberty Podcast Network. I am your host, Lou Perez, and today I'm very happy to be joined by author Lisa De Pasquale. Yeah, did I get it right? Yeah, I did, right?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. We were talking earlier, and by earlier, like seconds ago, about how to pronounce her awesome name. So I'm here with Lisa. And her new book that's coming out, it's called The Gen X Handbook for Middle Age. So Lisa, first off, I want to say I do love your last name because I grew up in Queens, and De Pasquale sounds like,
To be normal to you.
yeah, it's like Queen, like where I grew up in Queens, it's basically like all of these like kind of stereotypical ethnic names. Like all the Greek guys had these really stereotypical Greek names, and then this is a legit name. De Pasquale is a legit name, but every now and then I'd hear like an Italian last name where I'm like, come on, this is a joke, right? Like somebody's
Say different cold cuts. It's like
yeah,
all
yeah,
the
yeah.
Jersey stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm so happy that you're joining me here today. I think one of the things that you commented on, I had a tweet or a post that went viral, and I'm going to read it because my handiwork is, I mean, it's just so well written, and there's a reason why this went viral. So my tweet was, Ozempic means lots of thin women with fat girl personalities. What a fun time to be a single guy. And I think you commented like, "Hey, that's my line." And then I'm like, "Oh shit, did I steal that from Lisa?" Like,
No, I don't think you stole it, but I've said before that my husband is very lucky because he ended up getting a fat girl, or no, wait, a thin girl with a fat girl personality. Because over the course of the last 5 or 6 years, I've lost about 170 pounds. So I've been the fat girlfriend my entire life. Um, and all the good things started happening ironically in middle age.
wow, 170 pounds. And one of the things in your in your book, you do talk about the weight loss and uh, the good and the bad and the new experiences that you're going through, like when you drop that much weight, like 170 pounds. Like how long were you like what were you at your heaviest?
At my heaviest, I was 320. So
320.
that just told the internet my weight.
Right. Oh yeah, now they're doing the math, and there's going to be so many assholes that get on and they're like, oh yeah, honey, only 170. Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the funny thing is there's always you know, there's always gonna be, a part of me that wants to, it's like, what if I could say I lost 200 pounds? Like, that'd be such a big number. But, as someone that lifts weights and, um, you know, I mean, I'm short, I'm 5'4", but I don't know if I would wanna lose 30 more pounds. That might be a little much. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, my mother, like a few years back, she had like some health complications. Uh, one was like the cancer that she beat, and then she had diverticulitis, and they ended up removing like a pretty big chunk of, I guess it would be her. I don't, is it the small intestine or large intestine? I forget which one, but she had a lot of her that went,
Mhm.
and she was a lot more solid before, and she dropped weight, and she just said like she doesn't feel as strong as she did. And she's, a 78-year-old woman. So there is that balance between like you don't want to be, just, skin and bones because, what is that going to be like in your day to day?
Yeah. Well, I actually, speaking of skin and bones, I do have my Halloween costume. I got like one of those pajamas that are a skeleton, and I'm gonna wear a little name thing that says "Goal Weight." So I'm going as Goal Weight for Halloween.
Nice. And so when did you, start, your journey, to drop, all this weight? And was it a conscious effort to say, "Hey, I wanna be losing more than 100 pounds," because like, a lot of
Yeah.
people be like, "I wanna lose 20," you know?
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, definitely. Well, I in 2009. I'll start from the very beginning. Like prior to just being a writer full time on Substack and books, I was actually the head of CPAC, which is the biggest conservative conference. And so back in 2009, I had brought Rush Limbaugh to speak, and so we were both on stage. We were both wearing black suits, very slimming, and that was about when I was at my highest, at 320 pounds. And I saw me and Rush on the stage, and we were like about the same size. And I'm a 5'4", early 30s girl at the time. And that's when, and then getting the, emails and letters and things from people. I already knew what I looked like, and having been in the conservative movement for a long time, I was used to it, but just kind of seeing it, live on lots of news networks and all that, I decided to go to a doctor and look into the lap band surgery. And so that year I got the lap band surgery. I lost about 70 pounds. And then it just kind of slowly started to come back. And so the thing with the lap band is kind of like an inner tube that goes around your esophagus. And it just makes it a little tighter and harder to, eat certain foods. And, eventually they started calling it the milkshake diet, because that, a milkshake is an easy thing to eat. So for me, like, my go-to was like Chick-fil-A peach milkshake. That was like my favorite season. But
That sounds amazing.
but, like eating, you have to chew your food, and so, like, eating steak and chicken and, super healthy things ends up being, harder to do. And so then, all that weight came back, and I didn't get all the way to 320, but I got back into the 300s. And that's when I went back to another surgeon, since mine was no longer in the area, this when I lived in the DC area, and wanted to see about tightening it. And they basically said, "We don't do that anymore. We basically just do gastric bypass." That's kind of become the gold standard of weight loss surgeries. And so um, my insurance covered that. And I got a gastric bypass in late 2018, in October of 2018. So I was, 41 years old. And then just over the course of time, I began losing weight, obviously with gastric bypass. And I'm not sure the first 100 pounds, but I definitely did not get into it, um, wanting to lose 100. I mean, it just did not seem, it was not in my realm of possibility. I've been overweight since I was, 4 years old. I mean, the last time I was, um, a normal weight, was probably when I was born, and that was only because I was a preemie. I was a month early, so I ate about 5 pounds as a newborn. Um, and so it wasn't in I think in my mind, I kinda thought, well, the dream would be to be in the 100s. And so when I hit, 199, in, like, the weight loss community, they call it Wonderland, I was just, like, ecstatic. I, like, took a picture of the scale. I still have it on my phone, and to me, that was, the dream. And by that point, it was kind of like I had hit different plateaus, and I I really did believe that the gastric bypass was not going, because I'd already had one kind of failed weight loss surgery. I didn't believe it was gonna be, you know, the the magic tool, the magic bullet. And so I continually tried to add new tools. So that would be moving every day. I started
Mm.
doing yoga every day. And then when I hit another plateau, was okay, well, I'm going to start adding weights and doing weightlifting every day. Um, and then, doing it on my own, not necessarily keeping myself accountable, like to go to failure and that kind of thing. Then I hired a personal trainer via Zoom. And that's ended up being like one of the best, because as it turned out, a former boss became a personal trainer. And so now, like, if I don't do what she says or show up, I kind of feel like I'm not doing what my boss is telling me.
You're
So
gonna get fired. She's
yeah,
gonna
it's ended up being like the perfect scenario for like a type A person like me.
so, so with all these things, let's go back to the first one where, it's a band around your esophagus, right? Um, so, you described, like, you gotta do a lot of chewing, so it's making healthy food more of a chore just to eat. Are there other, sort of like day-to-day changes that, that you recognize? Because I have this weird thing, where, I have a tough time envisioning, like, scars and surgeries and stuff, and I think it might in part, it might be because, like, the surgeries, like, my mom went under, that it hits me, like, very, viscerally. So and unfortunately, I've never had, surgery, so I haven't had to, deal with that firsthand, and maybe that's why I have, like, such kind of, like, a weirdness around it. But, like, were you ever worried, like, if you burp too hard, like, the thing will snap open or,
Not that
like.
it'll snap open, but, you know, it does. It's not throwing up because it hasn't made it to your stomach, but it's kind of like holding right here. So there'd be times, when I would be out, if I went out to dinner with a friend, I would have to ask them to pull over and it would just, come out. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, they did as far as scars, they do the endoscopic, so it's just like dots. Um, I mean, now that I've lost a significant amount of weight, I've had the skin removal surgery, so, like, those scars definitely don't mean, anything. I mean, I've had, loose skin removed from, my chest, my arms, my thighs, and my stomach. Um, and part of it was, after losing 170 pounds and still being like, "Well, I wouldn't be a person that would wear a bathing suit or sleeveless shirts." It's kind of like, what's the point? I mean, aside from obviously the health stuff, but,
Mhm.
and then also just in working out, you know, the skin, like, slaps, not in, like, the Gen Z way, like, that slaps, but it makes noise. So, like, doing mountain climbers, I mean, there was one time I was on my trainer, and I was doing mountain climbers, and I could hear it, and I'm just, like, tearing up. I'm like, "God, why do I still
Yeah.
have to listen to something like that?" And, I just saved up my money, and I got the first round of surgeries last year, and then my, chest and thighs this year, and then maybe next year I'll think about adding, if you know what I mean.
Mhm. Okay. I have a friend of mine, he's an older guy, and he got his neck done because
Mhm. Yeah.
he didn't like what was going on, and whoever he went to is great. Like, you can't even tell, that he had that surgery, so I imagine, like, that kind of surgery has come a long way, right?
Yeah, well, and also it's really important not to just go to a general plastic surgeon, but one that does specialize in weight loss surgery patients because, things are different than, like, say, a traditional, tummy tuck just from a mom, who was pregnant or something like that. And I'm about an hour north of Austin, so I just ended up finding one in Austin that specialized in weight loss surgery. Um, and, it actually ended up being good timing for the book because I have, like, a whole chapter on, like, your plastic surgery bug out bag, all the essentials to pack
Yeah.
to escape and get some plastic surgery.
I think you could probably turn yourself into an influencer and, like, be a brand ambassador for whoever this surgeon is, you know? I mean, they should be getting you kickbacks, which I imagine would be a
Yeah,
pretty
you do
good
get a return
money.
customer discount. Well, it's funny because I joke that, I've been to him so much, and then, you have to do all the normal stuff like blood work and all that, and, I say that my plastic surgeon is my primary care
Mhm.
doctor. But,
Re
yeah, I think, you can probably tell from the way that I talk about it is a lot of people assume any type of surgery is, the easy way out, and,
Yeah.
um obviously, there are ways that it becomes easier, but, being rich and be able to afford a chef or a personal trainer is also an easy way out, but I'm gonna take any tool that I can do, because, going into my 40s with the numbers and the stats that I had, you know, when I went into that surgery or the second surgery and decided to lose weight, I wasn't thinking, uh not to get too serious, but this isn't a way to save my life. I thought this way, if something happens to me, my family will know I did the ultimate. I did the big surgery and they won't feel bad or like they didn't do enough to get me to, um, be become healthy, I like, to me, I was doing this to give them some peace in my death, you know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I think
Okay.
wow, I'm gonna end things right now. I can't go further. Um, no, I think I definitely was one of those people who, I would hear about, like, surgeries and stuff and say, um, "Well, you're lazy and, blah, blah, blah." Not realizing, like, uh, how different people's, bodies are, and, like, I have a family that, I guess, like, genetically are predisposed to, like, very high, like, cholesterol, and, like, my parents are on statins. I can't imagine saying to them, my 78-year-old mom and my 76-year-old dad, like, "You fucking lazy pieces of shit. Why don't you just change your diet instead of, blah, blah," and it's like, well, they have changed their diets to a great degree, and they still have, whatever's going on. But, more than anything, I mean, I just maybe, uh, I just look at it as, especially with the stuff coming out, like, with Ozempic, I'm like, if it could help people live quality lives and live longer, happier lives, great. And I know that there are, we could probably talk about, other like side effects that come with this stuff. But, if you're monitoring that as, especially with a doctor,
Mhm.
fucking great, amazing, go for it. So I'm definitely more of like now, like, I guess a cheerleader for, for that stuff. It's like, hey, if you need it, do it. Like, go for it.
Well, and also, I mean, not to downplay the side effects that some people have experienced with, any semaglutide, GLP-1 stuff, on the gastro issues, but it's so funny, I hear them talk about, like, there was an article this morning that was, like, the latest, Ozempic side effect that no one talks about, and it's loose skin, and then the Ozempic phase, and I'm like, "These are weight loss side effects, these aren't Ozempic side effects."
Yeah.
There are people that have gastro issues, um, but, I also wonder what they're eating, because I'm on one. So I know I have not experienced any of those issues, but I also, am very mindful of what I eat, but I do, um, I don't know, I don't wanna say cheat's the word because that's still like that, diet mentality, but I do cheat. I do have things that are good. I do have an Oreo or 2, actually more like 1, and I think that's really where the change, like, happened for me is, an open bag of cookies was an empty bag of cookies, and now, part of it is also living with, someone that kind of naturally is healthy and had that mindset. I remember when I went to visit, my then best friend, now husband, in Arizona, when we were out there, we bought or when I was out there, I bought some of those thin Tate cookies, and then,
Mhm.
didn't finish them, and they were there, and, like, several months later, I visited, and they were still there, and I'm just like, "What is wrong with you?"
How did you dive
Like,
into these?
the
Yeah.
house that long. And so I think that's definitely helps, like, kind of mirroring those habits and that you also kind of you realize you do get enough satisfaction from, like, 1 or 2 of something instead of just, like, pigging out. And, part of that is just, I think for me, how I grew up, and that's not having, the good stuff all the time. So it's like, "Let me get it while I can," you know?
Mhm.
But I still have that mindset, like, when my husband goes to, run errands or something, in the back of my head, I'm sort of thinking, like, if you want a snack now, now's the time to do it." Watching.
Oh, it's like a closet alcoholic, in a
Yeah,
way. It's sort of like
exactly.
it. Well, do you so you're on, one of those, medications. Do you still have the gastro bypass? Is it?
Gastric by yeah, that's the gastric bypass is kinda similar, I think, maybe to what your mother had, in that they, uh, take out the some of the small intestines
Oh, okay.
and,
Oh, so that's
yeah, they take out the 2/3 of your stomach. So my stomach is about the size of an egg, um
oh, that's cute. Cute
Pardon?
tiny little baby stomach,
Yeah,
baby
yeah.
stomach.
Well, it also makes you I think why people have some issues, especially with, like you said, getting more frail, is if you are able to eat that small amount, what do you want to make it? And so
Yeah.
usually it's protein and, high nutrient food, right? And, so the issue with gastric bypass is because your small intestines are taken out, things like sugar, and fat get into your system a lot faster. And if you eat too much sugar or even carbs in some people's case, depending on the carbs, your heart just starts racing and it has the worst name possible. It's called dumping syndrome. And that means it dumps sugar into your bloodstream. I don't know, like, why they couldn't come up with something better than dumping syndrome, but, it makes for most people, it makes you or for me, it makes me not want to have that.
Yeah.
Um, Other people, soldier on and push through, I don't wanna name names, but there's tons of people that, we've all seen that have dropped weight from weight loss surgery, um that have gained it back. So, I mean, I'll just name 2 because 'cause they're famous, I think it's okay to say, Carney Wilson and Chris Christie.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I don't wanna shame them, but when people say, the weight loss surgery is a tool, there are plenty of people that, didn't, stick with it and, either gained weight back or, didn't get to, maybe the healthiest weight for them.
Yeah. I have 2 kids. The youngest is gonna be 4 in October, and the oldest is 5. And, they're they like apple juice, obviously, like all kids have, but there are certain brands of apple juice that when they have too much, I mean, they get diarrhea. And it just so happens, like, every time we go to, like, my mom's, she sh they just eat just everything. Like, there's, like, these popsicles that I gotta be just, like, all sugar. And so it's like, it's like a mess. And today we were walking to school, and my youngest's birthday's in October, so he's excited that there's gonna be, Halloween. And he talked about, yeah, we can get candy and diarrhea. Uh he put the 2 together as if it was the same, and then we were like, "No, you don't want, yeah, you don't want diarrhea." He's like, "Okay, maybe
These
not that much candy."
habits.
Yeah.
That's like what
Like,
the models do. They have the diarrhea to stay slim.
oh, man.
They have
Um,
laxative chocolate that you can buy from Ex-Lax. They make
oh,
it little chocolate bars.
wow. Well, that's a nice little
Right.
prank. Yeah, that's a nice prank to play on a friend. With, with dropping the weight and stuff, yeah, like, what impact has that had on, like, your blood work? Where have things, like, gone down, like, in, good areas, etcetera?
Yeah, I mean, definitely blood sugar and also blood pressure, has really improved because my family is prone to heart disease, various cancers. I lost both of my grandmothers in their 50s when I
Oh,
was
wow.
3 years old. 3 or 4 years old, heart disease, did I mention that? Diabetes. So, all of my numbers, have improved in lots of ways. One number that didn't is actually kind of funny, is, uh, cholesterol, and part of that is when you first start losing weight, your body is processing all of that stuff and getting rid of your fat, and it ended up being too much work for my gallbladder, and I had to have my gallbladder removed. Um
Whoa.
because it was just processing too much fat, out of my body. So that's now all that's normal. The one thing that you do have to watch out for, in having a smaller stomach and your body processing food faster, are like especially women, they tend to have lower calcium. So you do have to take supplements. And I remember that was one of like back in the day, that was like one of the big um like, drawbacks to gastric bypass. They said, "Oh, you'll have to take supplements for the rest of your life." It's like, everybody takes supplements now. Like, it's
Yeah.
not a big deal. So, I just take an extra iron, um, and calcium, but also along with all my other stuff. So, I don't really feel like it's something that, is a negative because I think, um, lots of people take lots of things. I mean, now I just started taking creatine, to also help hold on to some of the lean muscle, um, and,
Yeah,
I don't know.
creatine. Yeah,
I
and
guess
I
they're finding more, like, mental,
yeah,
uh
yeah, I'm doing, I was doing what, the 5? Yeah, I was doing the 5 grams, and I'm up to 10. I know some people go real wild and, do like 25 and all that, but I don't know if I have the money, to, burn through 25 grams of, creatine a day, but I've definitely, seen it as as a benefit. I mean, I feel like now we're well, talking to you, it's like I'm talking to another, like, biohacker, like that Brian Johnson guy, It's like I'm waiting for that guy to say, like, "Yeah, I got my gallbladder removed because of blah, 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 and I also got my spleen, sliced in half and blah, blah, blah."
yeah.
But it is pretty amazing, though. I mean, just like, just how much more knowledge we have about our bodies. I mean, your poor, grandmother's, dying at 50, like,
Mhm.
oh my god. Uh I mean, when I was a kid, 50 was old, and now that I'm 43, 50 ain't old.
Yeah, with
It's
me. I'll be
yeah.
48 this year. Oh, and that's why I thought this year was, like, so perfect for writing this book is, Gen Xers, the cool kids, like, they're turning 60 this year.
Yeah.
Greg Gutfeld, I think, is 61. I think he's an honorary Gen Xer. He's like a cusper, because I would not call him a boomer.
No, and he doesn't look that age,
Mhm,
at all. Plus he has just an insane energy. I mean, the amount of shows that he does, like, back to back and
mhm.
stuff, and The 5 and then Gutfeld, and now I think and now he's
Game
doing
show, right?
a
Or
game
the
show, yeah, something like that. Yeah, he's pretty incredible.
yeah.
Um, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is, like, you brought up, like, Chris Christie and, uh, one of the Wilson sisters, Carrie Wilson. Um, and I find this a lot, like, with, well, online in particular, right? So one of the things that I realized is I didn't realize I was going bald,
Mhm.
and I had a receding hairline until everybody who hates me started pointing it out. So anytime that you're in a debate or an argument, some dude will just be like, "Yo, you're bald, motherfucker," as if, and then he wins the debate. So that's something that I've had to deal with. I'm like, holy shit! Like, I have a big ass forehead. I now I'm wrong about everything.
Mhm.
But it's a similar thing too, where like, you're waiting, like, for an argument for someone to say, like, oh yeah, fatso,
Yeah,
like, to call out that. I mean, so, like, what is that like, growing up where that's that put down is always there. It's always handy for somebody if they wanna be an asshole.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, school wasn't fun. I mean, I could not it was funny because I was always really good in school, and people would just say, "Oh, you must really like school." I'm like, "No, the better you do, the less you gotta be here." I
Mm,
did college in 3 years, because I was ready to work. I wanted to make money, and so my first job out of college was, basically booking speeches for, right-wing, speakers or female speakers. So, mostly I traveled, with Ann Coulter.
oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, so
I used to hate her. Back when I was more of a liberal, like, back, in the '90s, when she was on, Politically Incorrect, I'm like, "I hate this bitch." And then I gotta say, like, probably over the last, 10 years or so, I think she's great. I think she's so fucking funny. Funny as fuck.
well, that she's allowed to be so funny. But, yeah, from, like, 1999 to 2005, I worked with Ann Coulter, traveled with her, worked on one of her books, and then did stuff, in the media, and, so I heard it from lefties, and then in 2006, I became the head of CPAC. So, I had Rush in 2009. I mean, all everybody, obviously, from CPAC, and, one of the benefits um of being in charge is if there was, like, a big speaker, then, I'm like, "Oh, I know who will introduce them, me." Um, and so in 2011, the group Go Proud, which was, like, a gay conservative group, they were a lot of people were boycotting CPAC because they were there, and they came to us and said, "Well, we want to help. What do you think what if we could get Donald Trump to speak?" And I said, "Oh, that would be great." So in 2011, I introduced, Donald Trump. You're welcome. That was his first big political speech,
Well, is
And
that isn't that well, can I just tell you, isn't that wild that it was like a gay group
Mhm.
that said, "Hey, we can get you Donald Trump."
Yeah. Well, and then the even fun part is, um, because they were supported by everybody. I mean, that's normal now, and Andrew Breitbart, Rick Grinnell, those types. And, so a month or 2 months later, um, I was fired for making a mockery of CPAC by having Trump and the gays. So so then I started getting it from the conservatives, from the liberals, and weight and looks was always, the easiest thing, and it always will be. I mean, there's gonna be people if I were, more public about political stuff now, there would be people that would, still talk about my weight or that I'm old or I don't know, or wear eyeliner on the bottom instead of on the top. Who knows? They'll think of something.
Yeah, the age stuff is always funny because it's like, "Yeah, man, I'm older than you. Like, what the fuck do you want me what the fuck do you want me to do about it?" Um, yeah, or I mean, with with women, in particular, I mean, the shit that, like, Pamela Anderson, is going through, and when you hear guys like, "Oh, man, did she hit a wall?" It's like, "She's 60." Like, what the fu
Well, yeah,
what
as far as I'm concerned, the wall is Liam Neeson, and I think it's working out for her just fine.
Yeah, yeah, that is right. Did you see The Naked Gun? Did you see the,
No, I haven't seen that yet. Have is it
it's
funny?
it's very funny. Yeah, I wrote a review. I know, everybody I had the same thing. I was still worried about it. Turns out 2 of my friends wrote it, and I wrote a review for, at the Blaze, and I let everybody know. My 2 friends wrote it. I
Yeah.
was worried. It was all I didn't want it to be an awkward thing where I had to say something like, "Man, you guys must have had fun," you know? But for, like, the hour and, like, 20 minutes, and I think it's, like, only an hour and 20 minutes, it is laugh out loud funny.
Okay.
And, Anderson is great, but the cast is really wonderful, Liam Neeson and Anderson.
Mhm.
Um, did you see, my wife and I, we just watched oh god, how annoying is that? Oh, my wife and I, we just watched this program. Like, I don't have, I don't have an individual like Netflix anymore. We we just watched the Netflix doc about The Biggest Loser. Did you
No, I
watch
haven't
that?
seen it yet, but I want to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you should definitely see it. Definitely based on the some of the content and of your book. And
Mhm.
I didn't never watch the show, so I didn't know much about it. But some of the stuff that they show, I mean, like the way that they had these people like exercising.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like, not sustainable once
No,
you leave. I mean, and I kinda watched that because I was really into the show, obviously. People were dropping, like, 20 pounds a week,
right.
uh, and, working out, 8 hours a day, and you kinda knew it wasn't gonna be good news when they got home.
Yeah, yeah, and then a number of the past participants like put on weight. But even just, I mean, just from like a health standpoint, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I'm in pretty good shape, and if I was working out, that long a day, I think I would want someone to step in and be like, "Hey, Lou, you need a job. Yeah,
Mhm,
you need to do this." Yeah, I was doing like a program, um, where I have like, well, I'm still doing the program, but I was doing like a 3-day, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, full body.
mhm,
And for the first couple of weeks, it was sustainable. But then your goal is like hypertrophy, and going till failure. So
mhm,
there were times where it was like a day, like I turned around, I'm like, I've been here for 2 fucking hours, and I'm not done yet. And I'm like, I need a different program. Like I'm not a bodybuilder. This is just insane. So I think that's important too. I mean, is being able to find a lifestyle that balances not only what you're eating but how you're working out and allows you to actually do it, you know?
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is I think people have to adjust their, expectations
Yeah.
because, the first couple weeks, I mean, I wasn't doing like Biggest Loser numbers, but there could be 4, 5, 6 pound loss weeks and, you know, by, year 2 or 3, it's 1 to 2 pounds a week, and so even though a bulk of it did come early, you consider by the time I'm, say, under 200 pounds, 20 pounds is 10% of my weight versus, before being, a much, smaller percentage, and, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is, now when I look back, like those 3 or 4 years when I lost the 170 pounds, I mean, now it seems like it flew by, right? But, at the time, it was just not even my expectations, but other people, would say, "Well, didn't you have weight loss surgery? How much do you wanna lose?" And, like that kinda stuff. And even now, I don't consider myself done. I would still, like to lose 10 or 15 more pounds, and, everything else. I mean, there it's also what's amazing is kind of what that weight loss did, um, just in other areas of my life, like,
Mm.
becoming, debt-free. I had about a little over $50,000 in credit card debt, paying that down to nothing and now being debt-free. Um,
Wait,
obviously
how do you attribute that to I mean, no, it's not food, right? You don't have to
who knows? I think, well, part of it, I think it was not adding. I mean, I did the Dave Ramsey, so what
Oh,
thing as far as, like, the method, but as far as accumulating it, part of it was, I think, working in politics, which, ultimately were nonprofit organizations, not getting paid that much, um, buying things to make myself feel better, whether it's, clothes or food or, um, things,
yeah.
going to eat, that kinda thing, just kinda like the DC life. I now live in Texas, so that helps, but I think not it was kind of like just like, I think overall practicing, saying no to things and
Mhm.
self-control, and then also thinking, I actually do have this long life ahead of me. If I'm at middle age, then I still have another 40 years. I don't wanna be hanging on to this credit card debt. I wanna buy a house. I want to not be a burden on someone else if I ever find the love of my life. I don't wanna bring into a relationship $50,000 in credit card debt. Um, and I think all of that kinda stuff, snowballed as far as, like, just doing things in general that are, good for me.
Yeah,
Um,
you're taking control of your life, which is
yeah,
a really which is so yeah, so important.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, and part of me feels bad talking about the journey because it's kind of like, you were doing so bad, like, how can anybody, connect to this type of thing? But, a lot of times the really, small things are what, you know, make the biggest difference, you know? Um,
So did you, oh, and also, I mean, being able to, find a partner and get married and stuff, I mean, that's huge. Did you guys have, like, a big wedding?
no, we are common law Texas married.
Oh, there's something kind of sexier about that, and then, like, oh, it's
I'm
almost
I'm like a real rebel, conservative. Yeah, I
uh,
mean, and then I think that what I would say, especially for younger folks, you know prior to this, I was watching, your podcast with Jennifer Say, because I think we both work with XXXY,
yep.
um, and, I think we have such this notion because of science and things that you can deny biology, and the fact is it doesn't matter how healthy I am. I'm in my mid-40s, and the childbearing years are gone, and, I didn't meet my partner until way after that. So, there are some absolutes in life that people need to face, and I think we're now finally seeing the backlash to the healthy at any size, as more, you know, mid-30-year-olds and even, 20-year-olds that have been sold this bill of goods that you can be healthy at any size, and the fact is their numbers might look good. It has not caught up with them because they're 20 something, not because they're, um beating the odds at being overweight or obese, at a certain age.
Yeah. Oh my god, if you look at, like, on Instagram, like, man, look at these chicks with the amazing bodies, just, absolutely gorgeous. They're like, "Oh, yeah, she's 19," you know?
Yeah.
Or this guy, "Oh my god, look at the body on that guy." "Yeah, man, you're 24. You're
Yeah.
24, and I see what your day is." Your day is, you wake up, you do grounding,
Yeah, I
then
live
you
in
go.
Brant teens.
Yeah, you go surf, like, yeah, man, and you're 24, you know? Um, yeah, and, I
Yeah,
know.
tell me more about getting my cortisol levels down when you live by the beach.
Right. Yeah, and I know people too, plenty of women, who, go into, finance and those sorts of, industries who, you know, say like, "Oh, well, I have science with me, so I could go and freeze my eggs." And I know somebody who, she froze her eggs, and God, most of them weren't viable.
Mhm,
And she kind of like turned around one day. It was like, wow, even like she wasn't even planning for, well, what if,
mhm.
what if it doesn't take, what's going to happen? Um, so yeah, I mean, I met my wife when I was 31. So it was, and she was, 4 years younger than me. Uh, so I mean, she's the one who ultimately I wanted to have children with. So sometimes it is very much a timing thing. It's like
Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee I would've met him, if I
we're just getting knocked up by,
but I think for people that, are being told, um I think a lot of doctors are scared to say what the issue is. The issue might be you will be fertile myrtle if you lose 75 to 100 pounds. I don't think there's a doctor that would say that. They would say something like, we need to get, this number down and that number down, and freeze this and all of that. But I don't know. I think there are a lot of doctors that are scared. Um, and, I guess that's the benefit of a GLP is people are asking for it, but I don't necessarily know if they're doing the other work because I assume it's similar to gastric bypass, and that's that it comes off very easy, very fast. But it's like, have by that point, have you been through the holidays? Have you been through a stressful
mm,
time in your life? Have you, had a loved one die? Have you been through those stressful experiences that maybe you leaned on food, prior? And that's another thing. It's like even if you don't do that, you have to realize that coping mechanism, if you're not using it anymore, it's been taken away from you. So how are you going to deal with stress? They call it probably in other communities too, like alcohol and drug abuse, but in weight loss, they call it a transfer addiction. So a lot of bariatric patients end up becoming alcoholics. Alcohol's never been a thing for me. I don't drink, but I think I did probably shop more
mhm.
than I needed to. The other thing that I like to do, like weight loss has kind of become like a two-prong thing, and that's what I lose weight, I make everyone else fat. So I would like to bake and, give that away so I could still kinda have, a taste, but then, ultimately it was out of the house.
Yeah, my wife gets mad at me because when I go shopping, I ultimately pick up, treats that I'm not gonna eat.
Oh, I
And
love a collab. Have you seen the Oreo Reese's collab?
no, what's that?
So it's Oreos, but with the Reese's peanut butter inside, and then the Reese's cups have bits of cookies inside. They're okay, but
No.
the Oreos with the peanut butter inside is good. But yeah,
Yeah.
like, anytime it used to be like, "Well, I'll just get it if it's special," but now they have so many collabs that I think I'm buying stuff too often.
Well, it's also, I guess I'm part of not necessarily a community, but, eating cleaner and, not doing like, there was a time when I was doing like trying to do like no seed oils,
Mhm.
whatsoever and all that. Um, but I can't deny the fact that some of this stuff is just delicious. Like yesterday, like my kids don't like they're fucking picky eaters. So annoying. Like how many times can you eat French fries in a day? Um, but, like, we were at my parents', and there's a McDonald's there, and I brought him to the McDonald's in the neighborhood that I grew up in, and it doesn't look anything like it used to. They got rid of the ball pit and all that.
Yeah.
But I got a Big Mac, and my God, it was delicious. That sauce, whatever they put in it, I would mainline that shit into my
Yeah.
vein if I could. And then they had all these new, like, dipping sauces for, like, the nuggets. Like, they had a chili thing going on, and I'm like, "This is so good. This is so good." Like, I understand why someone would reach for this on the regular, if it was, there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we just got McDonald's. They're doing this McDonald Land meal now. So you get, like, this collectible, thing, and they have one for each character, like, that we remember as a kid. I don't know if they use them that much, but, like, Grimace, Mayor
Yeah.
McCheat, Hamburglar, they come with, like, stickers and postcards, and you wanna collect each one. So we have all the Ronald McDonald. So my go-to is to still do, like, the fun things, because part of me, it's like, well, now that I'm in I don't know, now that I have, like, my person, I wanna do the fun stuff. I didn't have, like, that dating life, and for some reason, McDonald's is now the fun thing, or, the collectible Gen X stuff. And so they do make it really easy. So I always get the quarter pounder with cheese with, no bun and no anything. So I just get the meat and usually 1 piece of cheese. They usually skimp out and don't give me the other piece of cheese. Um, but, it's not the best, but it's, like, a healthy option, and really, I still feel like, I feel it feels good to be bad sometimes, and,
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm getting the McDonald's experience, particularly on the convenience level with, Uber Eats and all that.
Mhm.
And the good thing about Uber Eats is also makes it, like, so expensive that you really don't wanna rely
Yeah.
on it that much.
Yeah, the markup on a friggin', Happy Meal, it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
what was it?
the other good thing about Uber Eats is, like, I can order Happy Meals, and I don't feel, like, judged because I don't go through something on my own and get the Happy Meal. But I think they might be on to me because 'cause I'll get the Happy Meal from, or children's meal, like, from Chick-fil-A, but with a, Diet Coke with no ice, so they might be on to me. This
Um,
adult.
well, I'm gonna give you a date idea, and this is something that I learned from a previous guest. He's an oil painter named, Kendrick Tone, and he's, based out of Ohio. He does really, great oil paintings, like portraits and stuff, and he had this, thread on, X about, uh, art collecting, and it was in response to someone had said something like, when you hit $10 million, then you can start collecting art. And fortunately, actually collecting art isn't out of reach, as anyone could see. Behind you, you got your Elvis there, you got your Bengal tiger. Um, but what he said was, a lot of what comes to about collecting art is uh, forming kind of relationships with artists. So you go to um, there'll be showings in, like, the local, art school, so you can go there and you could find, a new artist who's, a student or something like that, and you could buy a piece for 2 or $300 and form a relationship, and then the next time that they're, doing a showing, maybe you spend 500, and then suddenly you're collecting and you have this relationship with an artist, and it works as just an amazing date idea. It's like, go to dinner, go to an art show, then go
Mhm.
to dinner and buy a piece of art together. And now suddenly you guys are, you're a fancy couple.
Yeah, we're fancy. Actually, well, he did buy me the Elvis. He is an artist. Um,
Oh,
he
so I'm speaking. Yeah.
actually, you should have him on sometime. He worked for he's a colorist. He worked for Marvel and DC for 25 years and now does his own. I don't know if you ever saw the graphic novel of Clifton Cash. He was a creative director and colors for that. Um,
Oh, I'd love to have him on.
yeah, I mean,
What's his
especially
name?
how the whole, MC universe has turned out. Um, his name is Brett Smith. He also did the cover of my book
Oh, nice.
that's coming out. Did I mention that?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. We haven't plugged that. We plugged the book at the beginning. We're 50 minutes in. I'm a shit interviewer, I'll tell you that much. It's the Gen X Handbook for Middle Age, and you'll have descriptions, and links to it for sure in the description, below. Uh, One thing that people will notice when they look at the book is that blurbs that you got, and you got blurbs from, I mean, you're talking like Gen X, and two of the Gen Xers that, pop out to me, if they're not of the age of Gen X, they're at least definitely a part of the culture, is, Ethan Suplee
Mhm.
and, Robert, is it Davi or Davy?
Dobby.
Robert Davi. So Ethan Suplee is known from, like the Mallrats and, all these, other films. And Robert Davi is just the, I'm sure he's a lovely man in real life, but the most evil man. He plays this evil roles. He's one of the Fratellis,
Mhm.
in Goonies. So for one, I think that's so cool that, they, blurbed, your book. And Ethan, I think, is a special case because he was very much like the fat guy, very like unhealthy, who
Well,
turned it around one day, right?
yeah, and he has a podcast. I actually did his podcast a year or 2 ago, and one of the things I asked him, and I didn't wanna insult him, but I thought, what's interesting about us is in some ways we both had our career success when we were at our heaviest.
Yeah, yeah.
But, hopefully that's not, forever. I mean, he's obviously still working. I'm trying to still work. But, yeah, he's had that amazing transformation too on top of being part of pop culture.
Yeah. And you're both, you were great guests on, You're Welcome with Michael Malice. So friend of the show,
Yeah.
Mr. Michael Malice. And, and yeah, how did you, and with Robert Davi, like, how did that, was he ever at like a CPAC or?
He was after we met, but what was funny is, his publicist for a movie that he did called The Dukes reached out to me and said, "Maybe you should interview Robert Davi for your column, um, because the character in his movie is last name De Pasquale." And so I ended up talking to him for, an hour or so talking about the Dukes and, you know, at the time I was at CPAC and he, was a right winger and I brought him to CPAC to speak on a Hollywood panel. But, he knows a little bit about everything. His parents were immigrants. Um, in addition to being an actor, he's a great singer. He, did a CD of Sinatra, songs, and, it's just like one of those guys that you see everywhere. I mean, he was a Bond villain, one of the best Bond villains in my opinion, because he was like a real guy, not a guy that wanted to take over the world, but, someone that was, just trying to get ahead. And in, License to Kill. And then, of course, for all Gen Xers, The Goonies and, Agent Big Johnson in Die Hard. And so just to be able to meet him and become friends with him.
Oh yeah, the helicopter. He
Yeah. Well,
spoiler, guys. He dies in the
story,
helicopter.
he saw that movie, the opening with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold was very mad because, he died in it, and he was just like, "Why would you let that happen?" You know?
Who's he mad at? God? No, come on, God.
Mad at Dobby for, having such this great character, and then it's like, "Why would you be in this movie?" I might be missing the mark, but, on how definitely on the accent, but, on how Dobby told it, but, I guess, he Arnold if Arnold doesn't wanna die in a movie, Arnold doesn't die in a movie.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, your book is about, the Gen X, handbook, and, I think
Yeah, I just
I'm
don't wanna lose 100 pounds. It's not just about weight loss. It's actually kind of like one chapter, but it is kind of like the biohacking and the fun stuff. I mean, I wouldn't say it's tongue in cheek like my last book is the SJW Handbook.
mhm.
And so that's more parody. But the biohacking stuff, it's funny, I went and researched things, like from the turn of the century, and it's like which one is, the biohacking thing that a billionaire does and which one is like from the snake oil salesman. And, some of those are it's hard to tell.
Yeah, they definitely cross over into one another. I mean,
testosterone by rubbing beef tallow on your balls.
Well, you have the guy Brian Johnson, who I brought up earlier, he measures his nighttime erections, and he was at least measuring his son's nighttime erections. And, you know, I could imagine them having a conversation where, he has to go to his son, he's like, "Hey, son, I noticed you're not getting as many nighttime erections." The son has to be like, "Yeah, dad, because you keep measuring them. Like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
right?
Yeah, come on, that's in my head." Yeah.
CPS, visit in his future.
I know this ghost-like being just, floating into the room to measure his son's dick. Just insane. But with the Gen X stuff, so I guess I'm an older millennial,
Mhm.
but I identify completely with Gen X. And I think part of it,
Generational.
yeah, I think part of it is, I have older brothers, so my brother Sal is, let's see, 12 years older, so he's like 55, and Chris is 51, 50 or 51. So I grew up with, the music that they had. I was
That
listening to their
music,
music.
like, pop culture so much the comedy so much
Yeah,
defines our generation that's kinda like the exception that I gave in the book. Part of it like, the exceptions I thought because then I also think of someone like JD Vance. I mean, I cannot even wrap my head around that we have a millennial vice
yeah.
president. So I have to account for the fact that he was in the military and poor, and I think those give you a couple extra points for being Gen X. If you got your pop culture from older brothers and sisters, I think that helps. Certainly having a job, 14, 15, 16, anything that kind of brings you into adulthood faster than the typical younger millennial or certainly Gen Zer. I feel like that counts. I mean, I read a stat the other day that was just crazy to me that something like only 20% of 16-year-olds right now have their driver's license. They don't want it. They don't want it. It's crazy to me that they don't want this,
I
independence.
had all my sex in high school was in my Pathfinder. I was a f I when I look back, like, holy shit, was I a spoiled kid? Like, my dad was when he bought me a Pathfinder, he was basically saying, "I'm gonna get my son laid." Um, he's like, "Oh my god, what a lucky dumb kid I was." Um, but yeah, like, I look back at, there's a point where I look back at, like, the movies and the shows and the music, and I'm like, "Is it just me being nostalgic?" And then I'm like, "No, it can't be because you have kids who are, like, 12 listening to Nirvana." Like, my kids, my little babies, like, they're requesting that I play Alice in Chains in the
Mhm.
car. So I think there's something undeniably great about, not everything that was there in pop culture, but shit, a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, The Breakfast Club is literally in theaters now, um, because it's 40 and they're re-releasing it.
Oh, wow.
They're remaking, our stuff. I mean, Naked Gun,
Yeah.
um, and, to varying degrees. I mean, Jaws was in the theater, this past weekend. I think it was the 45th anniversary. No, or maybe it was 50th. I don't know. No, it can't be 50th. 45th, I
It
think.
could be 50th.
It could be
That's
50th.
what's scary. It could be. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there was one 50th, uh, or maybe it's coming up, like Star Wars and
Mm.
all that. But yeah, they're re-releasing a lot of the movies, and part of it also, like when I see the movies, when I see the McDonald's things, like they're re-releasing the Halloween buckets, when they're doing Breakfast Club makeup, it's like because we got the money now, you know,
Mhm.
and we're ready to spend it, and we spend it on nostalgia. Um, and I think it's awesome because, I grew up a poor kid, so I couldn't buy it when it was cool. So, now I can buy some of those things. And then the other part of it is with the re-releases, and I think we're kind of hardwired for the analog world, but then also had the foot in the digital world. And, you know, from your world, um, what they're doing to some of our movies and music, and it's like you wanna build that physical media collection because you don't know if you'll be able to share certain things with your kids 'cause it might change, Disney movies, um, or some of them. I mean, one like Song of the South doesn't even exist anymore. Um, and I think it's important that we preserve a lot of those things for our kids and for the next generation. I think there's obviously being it's kind of being corrected, largely thanks to comedians.
You're welcome,
I
everybody. Um, yeah, well,
malice.
one of the things I was gonna bring up, I don't know if you watched it, on MTV often, but, the show The Grind, but
Mhm.
it was just people dancing,
Yeah.
that's all, and, and yeah, granted in the '70s and '80s, they had Soul Train, like, yeah, I got it, but you didn't have Eric Nies. You didn't
No.
have Eric Nies, former, season 1 of The Real World,
Yeah.
as the
Speaking of Gen X icons, I do have a real world endorsement on the book.
Whoa. Oh, yeah, can you say, was who San Real World San Francisco, right?
Yeah, Rachel Campos. Now Rachel Campos Duffy.
Yeah. Oh, man, now I'm thinking about Pedro Zamora, who he was, one of the cast members on it who had AIDS, and he died, very young. God, even just thinking about that, my like, my god, like, in the '80s and '90s, I mean, people dying of AIDS, and
Yeah.
now you have people living long, otherwise healthy lives,
Mhm.
with
Yeah,
the
he
with the same
said it's,
disease.
I guess it's not classic like the classic definition of a cure, but, I guess they call it undetectable in that
Yeah.
don't progress from HIV to AIDS. Um, and that's actually a really good example of how important pop culture has been, and I think, and especially where conservatives get it wrong is I think in general conservatives were against like a movie like Dallas Buyers Club, but it's like if you want to see a libertarian movie that talks about the overreach of uh, the government and deciding what drugs can be made and what's allowed, Dallas Buyers Club is like where you start. Um, there's just all these pop culture moments that are just so important. I think on um, the political front and then also in, us growing up. I mean, we have a pop culture president, we all knew him from TV and movies and from the 80s as kind of being like this guy that, was made fun of, but also, the epitome of the 80s.
Yeah. I'm thinking about McConaughey in
Mhm,
Dallas Buyers Club, lost all that weight, didn't lose the hair. I don't think because
mhm.
he was going bald, and then he did whatever magic to
Yeah.
get his hair back, and then I think he was like, "I refuse to lose hair."
Yeah, I need to look into that because I think, uh, about 25% of my weight loss was hair. Because I used to have really thick, full hair. I
Oh,
actually
really? Yeah.
in DC, I beat out Michelle Obama, Nick Gillespie,
Oh,
and
Nick's got a great head of hair.
Tim Russert's son for best bangs. So, this
Well,
bangs.
there you go.
Mhm.
Your bangs look good. They look great on you. You wear them
The
well.
actually went out of business, so I'm forever best bangs.
There we go. Um, ladies and gentlemen, listeners of the Lou Perez podcast, I hope you've enjoyed my time with Lisa De Pasquale as much as I have. She's the author of a new book that's available now. We'll have links to it. The Gen X Handbook for Middle Age. Please read her stuff. Read all of her books, and then stick around for future episodes because I can't wait to talk to her common law husband about comics, art, and all that stuff. But Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.